right, everybody. Welcome to the Iconic Life podcast, where we gather around the virtual tables for real, soulful conversations about what it means to live a life of calling, of wealth, of joy, and of purpose. I'm your host, Hannah Elsey. I'm the founder of Agora Wellness. I'm the creator of the Iconicity movement. I call myself a transformation midwife, an overflow activator, a movement builder for a community of visionary women and men who are choosing to lead and live lives they are wildly in love with. Here, we don't do that surface level chatter. We do depth. We go deep. We talk about truth and the kind of stories that remind us that we are limitless when we walk in our divine purpose and identity. When I say living iconically, here's what I mean by that. It's remembering who you were created to be and choosing to live from that place fully and unapologetically. It's saying yes to your divine calling, even when it's messy, chaotic, stretchy, and building wealth, legacy, and joy from a place of overflow, not depletion. It's leading movements, raising families, and co creating a life that feels like art with our Creator. Because living iconically means you don't chase a dream, you are the dream. And today we're going to dive into that with my guest, Odree Martin. Welcome. So happy that you are here with us today, my dear.
Thank you for the invitation.
Of course. Okay, so I know I kind of chatted about this already, but we're not very formal here. We're just pulling up chairs around the table. I've got my water today and my Kleenex box because I'm getting over a cold. Woohoo! I think you got the same thing going on, but yeah, we grab our cups of tea, coffee, whatever it is that we're doing today, and we talk about what it means to create an iconic life for each person that we're talking to that day. So I'm so excited to dive into this with you today. But before we do that, I don't have like a formal intro for you, Audrey. So I want you to go ahead and just take the stage for a minute and introduce yourself to us. Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you are in the world, and what you're doing.
Thank you, Anna. So I'm Odree Martin, the Miracle Oracle. I work with energetics for women who are spiritual entrepreneur or gifted, and also now with parents who have a child and who doesn't speak. So a non-speaking child. I work a lot with telepathy, so my field meets your field. And we communicate from there. We don't do live calls, we only do other types of communication in the multiverse. And also to anchor that in this reality on this planet, we have a Telegram channel where we actually have voice notes and text, of course, because we were born to live here on this planet. So a very important aspect for me of the energetic work is to be able to embody whatever we're talking about. Very, very important, of course, in order to move the energy and move the evolution of humanity. That's how we create the movement, right? You're a movement builder, you know that. And I'm very, very pleased to be here with you. I've been in a mastermind together for women entrepreneurs for more than a year now, and I'm really, really blessed to be here with you and have profound conversation. I love to work with depth as well. I love to go under the waters and
Mm.
see what currents still make us feel uncomfortable, you know?
You go deep. You go deep. You don't just stay on that surface level. We were talking about triggers before this, right? And what does that bring up for us and examining those. Okay, so I want you to take us back to a moment, Audrey, when you decided that you were going to stop maybe living on kind of autopilot, when you decided you're going to fully embrace your identity that you knew you were, your calling for being here in this life. Take me back to that moment when you first decided that, when you decided to choose yourself and your calling, and what was, maybe going on in your life at that time, and what what shifted inside you? Was there a moment that you can pinpoint that shifted inside of you that made you say, "I'm going to choose this path. I'm going to walk this out"?
Well, the first moment is when at age 23, I was diagnosed with a cancer just before my birthday.
Oh, wow.
And yes, so that was really hard to take. I didn't even know that people my age could have a cancer. I had heard of like children having leukemia and older people. And I was living with that belief that we are invincible. I was in my
Mm-hmm.
young age and I was healthy. I just graduated from a bachelor degree in exercise science. I was going to the gym, I was eating well, I had a lot of energy. So I really never expected to have a cancer at all.
Yeah.
And I just had started a career in insurance for people who are off work, so people who are on a leave of absence or disability. And I was in there for a few weeks only, and I got diagnosed with cancer. So for me, it's kind of like the entire planet stopped turning at that moment because
Yeah.
I thought, okay, so where do I go from now? Like, am I even still alive after this diagnosis? You
Yeah.
know?
Sure, that's life altering. Yeah.
It is life altering, and it's also the weirdest part is that I have to be very self-led because a lot of people my age could not even cope with this information because it's scary, right? It's like if
Mm-hmm.
she has
Hmm.
that, I could also have this,
Like it's catchy. Yeah. And
right?
that's interesting, right? Yeah, I hear you. Okay.
Yeah, because it wakes up the fear of like also having
Yeah.
sickness or a disease or a
Right.
problem, like a big problem.
Yeah.
And that's the first time in my life that I had to be very self-led because of also all the appointments aspect of like having to go for this test and going to the hospital and meeting a doctor. And I didn't have a car at that time. I was still young, taking the commute to go places that were kind of far from my home. And also, I had moved in an apartment, but then my parents wanted to have me back in the house because they wanted to help me take care of
Mm.
myself. So I
Right.
don't have to think about like cooking and stuff like that because we knew like it required an entire reorganization of my life, basically.
Yeah.
But most importantly, it was like not only coping with this surprise, but also coping with the process of healing. Because you
Mm.
never know, like you accept the treatment, you choose one type of treatment, you dive with it, and you don't know what's on the other side. So it's like the first time I was really meeting and dealing with the unknown.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So having this process, and then 6 months later, getting out of there, but still not knowing if there's presence of cancer still in my body, and that, I was not so in tune with energetic at that period of my life yet. I
Mm-hmm.
was more in tune with like what can serve my body the most, what can support my body during this process. So I was still very tapping into the scientific field because this is where I come from. Okay, so I was reading, studies, I was reading the scientific
Right.
evidences and stuff. But
Right.
then at some point I started noticing that meditation was mentioned a lot, meditation and mindfulness. So I started diving a little bit. So it was the first door that opened for me to discover this world of energetic. Where we put our focus is what really counts. And it helped me, in periods of difficulties when I had a lot of pain, a lot of fatigue, when I was no longer to do what I used to do before. Like I used to be a very energetic person. Also, my body changed so much. Like I lost my hair, I gained a lot of weight. In the meantime, I was told I could never have children because my eggs
Oh,
would
wow.
be kind of burnt up by the
Yeah.
chemotherapy. Yeah, it was a lot of grief processing.
Yeah.
I was working with a music therapist, and this helped me a lot too, like understanding how sound can actually heal my body, like how sound is supporting my energy, the flow of my healing and the flow of my process. So yes, that was one of the very pivotal moments, and it took me many years before. It's almost like the worst part is after even the treatment and after the diagnosis, because it took me many years to stop being scared of the cancer coming back.
Right.
Now it's more than 10 years ago, so I kind of like move on to another chapter, but we all know
Mm-hmm.
that relapse are possible or a new cancer. Like now that I just know that it exists and it can hit my body, I
Yeah.
had to untangle this fear that was existing in my nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And shift identity. Because for a long time I was a cancer survivor, you know?
Right. That's interesting because what I heard you saying is you're describing all these things that are happening physically, mentally, all the grief processes that you had to walk through, like being told you couldn't have children and that you had having cancer, like at 23, all of that. is it sounded like identity changing, shifting, like your identity, maybe you knew who you were, it sounded like, it like fell apart and then you had to rebuild it, right? In a different way. And like, even like what you're just saying, like you identified as a cancer survivor for many years. That's so interesting because that could be something that could keep you from living a full life, right? If you allowed it to be that. Hmm.
It's just the word survivor. Like,
Hmm.
it's, and it's not to criticize the word because I know a lot of people going through this process will identify to that because it is a death and rebirth. So we could also talk about survival at some point because there are moments where you wonder, like, what's after that? What
Yeah.
is there for me after that? And it's like learning to deal with all the consequences that this entails. Like, just for instance, if you want to have a life insurance, well, it gets complicated because you had cancer.
Oh,
And
right.
even if you try to advocate that you have a good health and blah, 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 you still have a history of something.
Right.
So it's like this mark on your path that follows you your entire life. But
Wow.
you have to choose what you do with this mark, and you have to, choose what identity you embrace after this
Hmm.
process. And for me, it was very beneficial because when I got back into the insurance company, when I returned to work 1 year later, after my treatment, I was sitting at my cubicle and it just was really clear for me that the frequency was not aligned.
Hmm.
Like, it was clear for me that I was not going to spend the rest of my career or the rest of my life in that cubicle with people who were obviously very frustrated, and I understand why they were frustrated. It was a very difficult job, and we didn't have a lot of support,
Hmm.
and also very competitive. So, when I was reading a file of someone on disability, then I discovered the report of an occupational therapist. And
Okay.
then I read that report and I was like, wow, this level of analysis is very impressive. And I was really amazed by all that was written in there. I had the impression that I was meeting someone. It was so precise and so analytic, and the links, connections that were made helped me understand so many things about also people I know because it was a report for mental health.
Hmm.
And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And I started making research for that profession. And I realized that where I live, I could go for a master degree directly and kind of skip the bachelor degree in that profession because my bachelor degree in exercise sciences was connected.
Covered a lot of it. Yeah. So you're able to shift over without.
Yes, yes, and
Yeah.
I had very good marks, so I could advocate for a special spot where you literally skip the bachelor degree. So
Wow. Yeah.
it gave me some motivation and some movement because it was a very difficult application. I had to contact like some previous teachers of many years ago to get like a referral letter, and not all of them will answer, and some of them were no
Hmm.
longer working for the university. So it was a big
Right.
process with a lot of like executive function, like you have to plan, get organized, contact people, handle rejection, all those
Yeah.
things.
All the things.
And and also some people know my first language is French, my second language is English, but at that moment I didn't really speak English. And the only
Mhm.
university that was offering this program was in English.
In
So
English.
I really
Ah,
had to push myself. I really had to push myself because at that point, and it was a few years later, so I was like 25, let's say, at that point.
hmm.
And I didn't know much about English. Like, I mean, I could travel and order at the restaurant, but I was not able to create like an essay or something like that, like write a
Right.
text or something like that. So if we look at that, there are many benefits because then I went to push my studies even further. I went into a profession that I love and that I'm still practicing today, although I have a business, because it's part of my soul mission. And
Mm.
also, I learned English at a certain level where I can even now practice in English and have a business in English and be very well understood and even write articles and create assets in English. So,
Wow. Yeah.
the consequences of cancer became very positive. Like, we kind of turned it over, but it took
Hmm.
a while. It took several years to, to conduct this
Yeah.
both. You know?
But that is so beautiful because you chose to allow it and to create it into something that was beautiful, right? I always talk about that because like we don't get to choose what happens to us, maybe that, the things, the experiences and things that are offered to us in this life, but we do get to choose what we make of it and what we do with it and how we perceive it. And that is so powerful. Like I always talk about like like in my walk and everything, and like I always talk about like a tapestry, like those big beautiful tapestries that are like on the, in the castles and and how they're so intricate and so detailed. And you stand back, you see this magnificent thing, but if you get up really close, you'll see like the different aspects, and it includes both these dark colors and whatnot that aren't necessarily pretty right up front,
Right.
but also that has the beauty like the gold and the bright and all these things, and it's all woven together. And when you stand back, you see this masterpiece. But if you hone in on like just the dark part, it doesn't necessarily look beautiful, right? And I think that can also be said about like our life and the things that we do. Like there are hardships that we go through, but if we allow it to weave into us, it creates this beautiful tapestry, if that's what we create with it, right? Um,
Beautiful.
and
Yeah,
it's so
such beautiful
powerful.
images.
Like we have that choice, right? Yeah, I love that. But okay, so you have definitely done some amazing shifts. I mean, like to have all that stuff happen in your 20s, like that's a lot to put on a 20 something year old, right? Um, and it was interesting you mentioned like you had to be very self-led because you didn't have a lot of peer support because again, like you said, people are kind of triggered that fear of death, things that we don't think about when we're in our 20s, right?
Uh-oh.
Um, and that's so interesting as well. Did you feel sometimes that did you feel alone sometimes in that? Like how did you build support for yourself and build community in that support side?
People were laughing because sometimes I had family members coming with me to the chemotherapy treatment because they would last several hours. So I would,
Mhm.
always have a family member coming to me. Sometimes that would be my grandmother, sometimes my mother, sometimes a friend. And that was really interesting because they were seeing me just moving around the department because there really is a specific cancer department.
Mhm.
And they were like, you're kind of the star here. You're the rock star of the department. Like I was the youngest, moving
Yeah,
around, super energetic,
a whole
happy to
different
come for the
picture.
treatment. I was like, let's get these treatments done. Like, and and it was beautiful to watch because it would bring some of the sunlight into this
Mhm.
place because a lot of people are also in end of life. Like we have to be
Yes.
honest here, like not everyone will get out of this process
Right.
necessarily. Like what's on the other side is not always a rebirth, but sometimes it's death. So we have to be
Yeah.
very honest. And I don't know, I felt that being exposed to that, first of all, at this age,
Mhm.
I didn't expect that.
It's okay. We let these things
I'm
move,
getting emotional, but
and that's okay. These are these conversations. Yeah.
yes, yes, they are.
Yeah.
And being exposed to death and to disease and to aging also at this age really was my
Yeah.
first wake up call.
Yeah.
It was a big wake up call. Like you don't have so much times. I mean, the days are long, but the years are short.
So short.
And
Yeah.
it's like you don't have so much time to create the life that you desire. So, and I was raised in the family where, my parents were workers and they worked until like their retirement and now they're having a very beautiful life, but they worked a lot. And I remember conversations at the table when I was young and they did like their profession and their
Mm.
job, but the workplace dynamics, like they had a lot of
Yeah.
struggle. And I remember this struggle taking a lot of space, because relationships and abuse and
Mm.
manipulation and all sorts of situations at work where you have to work with a team of people that you didn't choose and all those things that we kind of impose on ourselves. And I was sitting at that cubicle and I was like, there's no way that I'm gonna be here for 30 years. Like, it's not possible.
Yeah.
Like I have to move, I have to go somewhere else. And it's not at that point I was not completely depressed or overwhelmed. It's just I could really feel the discrepancy and it's like the frequency was not aligned. There was misalignment,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah. And I understand that as well. I think the first time for me that I was awakened to the reality of like life being so short and not being promised all the things was even it was before I even lost my husband. But when I was actually 10 days before my wedding, actually, my baby brother, um, he has like a neurodegenerative disorder, and he was 4 years old at the time. So he's my baby brother, but he choked on a piece of food at lunch and
God.
literally almost died. Like it was a miracle that they were able to save him. And I remember I was at a store shopping for my bridal like clothes and things like that, right? Like, and I was in the dressing room changing, and I heard my sister's voice outside, and she was calling me. I was like, oh, that sound like that's not a normal calling my name, right? And came and got me, and we went to the hospital, all these things. And I remember just seeing my baby brother in there, and it was very touching. It was a very intense situation. And that was our first like wake up to it was just a normal regular day. Like we were just doing
Right.
the things, right? And then in an instant, everything changed. And I remember even then we were talking about that after, obviously he got stabilized and he was, saved and thank God all the things. But like we were just like every moment felt so precious, right? Like every interaction with a loved one, we're like, oh, you're like, I love you. You just didn't, you realize I just want to like embrace every moment we were given because we don't know. And we didn't even realize. And I just remember it was very eye-opening because I was in my 20s and like I didn't think about death like that, right? It was maybe my grandparents, which I had never even lost my grandparents at that time, right? So it was very eye-opening. And, that was the first kind of major shift, I would say, for me. But it's just so interesting because we don't know the days that we have. We think, oh, it's a long life, but not necessarily, right? I mean, for me, my husband, I lost him when he was 34 years old. That was never something I would have thought, right? Um, but it did make me realize, like, I can't just waste. I'm gonna say waste in air quotes, okay? Because I that's not necessarily exactly. It's not always a waste to do a career or whatever. But like, could not just do the autopilot anymore or for the rest of my life, right? It kind of awoken that urgency in me to continue to listen to the call and pursue that as well as not just continue on autopilot with my life. And it sounds like that was kind of what you were awakened to as well, going through all of that in your 20s, and you chose
Yes.
something differently. Yeah.
Yes. We make different choices, and I feel also in those moments we awaken to new passions or new interests. I don't know if it did that for you, but at that moment I had a new interest for occupational therapy, which is more of a career thing. But
Hmm.
also I never had looked for houses or condos before, and I started like being interested into real estate. Finally, I didn't invest because there was like other projects for me, but I started being interested to travel more as well. I was like, okay,
Hmm.
now I'm healthy. I have two legs, two arms. I can move around. I have energy. Like I don't have pain. I want to travel.
Yeah,
So it really influenced the way I was going to live afterwards.
exactly. Yeah. The way you experienced your life. That's beautiful. And again, like you allowed it to make something beautiful in your life. And I think that's so powerful because that is the choice we get. Um, okay, so let's kind of actually let's come to kind of to the present moment. Let's jump it up here a little bit. So, because you've done a lot of things, I feel like we're just barely scratching your story a bit, Audrey here. And I think we could talk for a long, long time on this. But I'm so curious, what does living an iconic life, right? Which for me, like I said, it's remembering our identity and choosing to walk in that fully and unapologetically every day, right? So, what does that look like to you, for you right now, currently in your day-to-day moments, not just like big um, trips or things like that. Like I know, like we just came off of a beautiful experience, what, 6 weeks ago, I think. You traveled quite far coming to our mastermind event and everything. And then you also did a retreat right after that. So like you did some really big things, which are exciting and amazing and so cool. But on the day to day, what are maybe some rituals or choices or values or boundaries even that you keep in place that keep you anchored in this life and in keeping that focus on the day to day?
Yeah, and it's a very interesting question because to be completely honest, the first time you invited me to this podcast, I was like, I don't really have an iconic life at all. can just have a very normal
When
life.
you said that to me, I just laughed. I was like, what is she talking about? Audrey, you're amazing. You're the miracle oracle. What are you talking about?
Right?
Like, and you literally just traveled across the globe and went to like two different big things. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, anyway, I love you.
That was, and it's an honor to be seen this way for me because it had me think like what's iconic in my life, and there are like, and
Mm,
other people have started to call me rock star because for instance, once I was doing the grocery shopping, and I was on a call for the mastermind, and we had to do these little pods where we share with each other. We were four women in that pod, and one of these women is like, "You're a complete rock star. Like you're doing the groceries for your family while you're on this call and giving us advice." And I'm like, for me, it's just being a
it's
mother.
just life.
Yeah,
Right. It's
right.
just
Like
being
you're
a
a mother,
mom.
you almost have to do things like this because otherwise you don't have time for other
How do you
things
do
than
apps?
just
Yeah.
mothering. Unless you can pay someone and delegate it, which would be awesome. But for now,
Right.
it's not like where I am yet. So I'm still doing my groceries, right? And I actually love doing my groceries and choose what I eat.
Right.
So anyway, so anyway, I was like, okay, so I can be a rock star while I'm at the groceries on a phone call. Okay, that's interesting. Like that's a new perspective for me. And you were asking about rituals. So one thing that I allow myself to do every week is a walk in the forest. And it doesn't
Mm,
have to be so long, but every weekend, my husband and I chose to, we live we live in a place where there
mm,
is a lot of woods, a lot
mhm,
of woods, a lot of forest, and this is very soothing for me and for my family. We have a neurodivergent family,
mhm.
so we need this grounding. It's very, very important for us to feel
Yeah.
good and for us also to feel connected. So every weekend we go have a walk as a family, but also once a week I allow myself to have this walk by myself
Ah,
you know
beautiful.
so before I go get the kids at daycare, or before I go to work, or during my lunchtime, or like whatever space I have in my schedule, I will really take this time to go outside and contemplate and have this slow walk. It's not a performative walk, it's not a hike, it's really just a walk with
Hmm.
nature. And
Yeah.
this is something I really love doing. It's a ritual that works well for me, and this is where I get most of my inspiration, and this is also how I created my brand. So if you go on my website, for instance, audreemartin.com, it's very easy. If you want to find me somewhere, it's always Audree Martin. So I made it
Yeah.
easy.
Make it
And
easy. That's right. Across the board.
exactly. I love like things that are super simple. So that's one of my zone of genius. And all my branding also is based on nature. So a lot of people will say, oh, it looks shamanic, which is also part of my approach. But it's just because nature is so important for me, and being part of it and remembering that I'm part of it is also important for me. So that's why like I really put a lot of emphasis on, and for me it's the woods, but I know for some people it's the sea, or like
Hmm. Hmm.
it can be anything, right? But for me it's
Yeah.
the forest. Like it's my sanctuary.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I love that. And I guess that would also be considered holding a boundary for yourself, that you do make that time for you to go and do that. And it's so important, right? Like as moms, as working women, as business leaders, movement leaders, right? Like I think it's super important that we keep that balance, right? I know I would, you're I would think we're a little bit similar. Like you said, I'm a mom. I just have to do these things. Yes, I exactly. As a mom of seven, I just have to do these things. Like, right? We just do the things, or else nothing gets done. But I think for me, in the beginning, that kind of got a little bit rough because I also did it to the detriment of myself, right? Without holding a boundary for self-care, for filling my own cup back up, which I am no longer here for. And that's one of the tenets of my teaching, right? My icon method. One of it is working, building, creating from a place of overflow, no longer for depletion, right? Because we're no longer here for it. That's an old paradigm and we're not doing it anymore. I know for me it was modeled to me, right? From generations, right? Because that's just what we do, right? And like the mom that burns herself out or works herself to the bone, like why are those statements, right? And it's so like, oh my goodness, no. Like we're supposed to be supported. We're supposed to be working from a place of abundance because we are super humans as moms. Like, hello, creating and birthing and bringing new life into this world is literally mind blowing. As I'm also a nurse midwife, right? So like I've been in, working with women throughout pregnancies and labor and birth for over 2 decades, and it still blows my mind whenever I stop to consider how does a woman's body do this, right? Like it's unbelievable what our bodies do to create new life and bring it into this world. So yes, we are superhumans. Absolutely. But it's so important that we also hold that space for our self-care and filling ourselves back up so that we can then continue to pour into our loved ones.
Yes,
Uh,
and when you were talking about working from overflow, I hear that a lot, especially in the online business space. And it is important. And what I've discovered when we went to that Living Brave Life event, and then I led a retreat in El Salvador, it's the frequency of being spoiled.
yes.
And I always thought of this frequency like someone else is going to spoil me, but there was really a shift. It's like I'm spoiling myself, if I
Yes.
can say that in English, if it makes sense.
Yeah,
And
you
it's
did.
really like, for me, it's the new frequency because when I was, for instance, looking around for flying tickets, I had a choice at some point to fly from Denver to El Salvador. I had a choice of like economy or first class, and honestly, the difference was $100 US,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
nothing.
like okay. And but not only that, it became like the evident upgrade because with that $100 I could also have all my luggage with me.
Mm,
And like I would have like a spot that I choose so I could be at the front of the plane and just get off the plane quickly. And also I would have service, like if whatever happened, like I would have service and I could be
hmm
relocated easily if the
hmm
flight is canceled or whatever. So for me, it was a literal evident upgrade that I chose. And that was my first wake up call again for this frequency of being spoiled. And for me, spoil is not only okay, like you work from overflow, but it's also a boundary you hold for yourself, and it's more even like a geometry you hold for yourself.
mm.
So, so it's like, what can I do now that fills my cup? What can I do now that makes me feel like I'm flying? You know,
I love that.
what can I choose now that makes me feel important?
Hmm. Yeah, that loves on me, that fills my cup. That yeah, that's spoiled. That's funny because I literally used that word and I was creating a an offer I was working on. I was like, I want them to feel spoiled, right? Like we're choosing that for ourselves. And so yeah, so that, I love that you said that word because that's, we do hear the word overflow quite a bit and abundance, right? Quite a bit, which I think they're beautiful words and I use them and they're powerful. But like, I think sometimes when something is used all the time, everywhere, sometimes it gets a little bit cliche-ish or whatever. So that's funny because spoiled was the word that came up. 'Cause I'm like, it's another element of, yeah, like this beautiful way of spoiling yourself and just like luxuriating in that and accepting it because it's also an element of receiving it. I think as women, sometimes it's hard for us to receive that and to not feel somehow about it, right? Like to not to feel maybe a little bit of guilt or whatever, which where did that come from? And I think that's a whole nother thing we can work on, right? But allowing yourself to receive, allowing yourself to be spoiled and loved on and in a luxurious state, right? Like I have a retreat coming up next month and like it's so like from top to bottom it's exquisite, right? Because we are worth it because I want the women who are coming here to feel spoiled from head to toe, all the things from food, all like where the rooms they're staying in, the gifts that we're giving them, the experience that we're bringing. And it's just going to be so amazing, right? And then they get to be filled back up and go back out to do their work and lead their movements and take care of their families from a place of absolute being spoiled and overflow. So I'm so excited about that.
Yes, and I feel that being spoiled also brings a lot of clarity, and this is what happened for me when I was in El Salvador. And although I was leading a retreat, I was being served. You know, I didn't have to cook meals. I was
Yeah.
being like someone would bring my coffee every morning. The
Yeah.
waiters where the retreat center was were absolutely amazing. Like it was high-end service. It's
Mm,
not because there are some spaces now you pay high ticket, but do you really get a service? And this is
right.
another conversation for another time.
Yeah.
But there it was high ticket and high end service. And this is
Yes.
really the way like for me it was not only a mirror of how I want to serve my own clients,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
also a way for me to bring clarity because spoil bring you space. And once you have that space and spaciousness, then it's easier to see clearly like what's truly important to me. And when I came back from that retreat, I also decided to hold another boundary for myself, which was how I manage time on my phone. Because having an online business, you are on
Mm,
your phone a lot, or you could be on
yeah.
your phone a lot. And although
Yeah.
that people will say I don't have calls on my calendar, well, you might also still be on your phone a lot. So I became more aware of that. Like being in nature or being with people, with actual people versus being on my phone. And while still honoring my online clients and online relationships, because I also understood, okay, at that point, I have online friendships. I have a life online at that point. And I
Yeah.
want to honor that, but also I want to be conscious of like this life here with my family and friends and like local people as well.
Yes. I think that's a beautiful boundary. Yeah. All right. Where do I want to go next? Tell us about what you are building now, because I know you're still working as an OT, but also you're building this beautiful business. Um, what is something that you're currently working on or offering, or like what are you most proud of creating, or what's kind of this new, how is your calling evolving in this new season?
It's a beautiful question. Yesterday I tried to put orders in like everything that's going on in my life, and I could not simplify because I have an octopus brain and like everything is happening all at once right
Yeah.
now. But the most important offer I'm working on right now is a collective
Mm,
of light leaders and light language activists who want to gather to recode this earth. So that's the broader mission, but we are working on the Light Language Summit. I work with a council of more than 10 people. And this offer like is gonna be very interesting because most summits are free and it's just like a little like you dip your toe and you try to see who does what and you try to get
yeah.
something from it. And it's very compact and intensive. Like on 2 days you have a bunch of people presenting their work and it's a little bit overwhelming.
Hmm.
But the way I'm creating it, it's more something that's gonna evolve over time and happen every year. So this year is going to be over a month. We're gonna have several speakers and collaborators presenting their work. And
Okay.
the people who get their pass will be able to not only taste the work of every collaborator, but also walk through a path with all of us as a collective.
Wow.
And this is a collaborative model that I haven't seen before yet in the online industry. And I love this collaborative model because for me, it's the new way of doing business with the
Mm.
support of a council, but the council actually not work for you, but work with you,
Ah, yes.
you
I
know?
love that.
So they're
Yeah.
not my employees, they're their own lead, like they are
They're
light
peers.
leaders, they have their own
Yeah.
lineage, their own work, their own body of work, their own schools for some of them, like they write their books, like they have their own business, they don't work for me, but
Hmm.
we choose to work also as a group to become more, how can I say, I would say more powerful, but also more present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's so powerful. I'm all about collaboration and like champion one another and spotlighting and highlighting. This is one of the reasons I started this podcast because I want to champion people who are doing amazing work throughout the world. And I have been blessed and honored to meet so many people in like our various masterminds that we're in and what like and you meet people from literally around the globe, right? And you just see the work that's being done is like if I can help shine a spotlight I want like that is what we need to do because this is I have no space in me for competition. That is such an old way of doing things, and like there's so much work that needs to be done. And even if every one of us was working 24/7, we would not be able to reach all the people that need to be reached, right? So like there is no competition. There is only collaboration, and let's work and go together. Yeah, so I love that. That's really exciting. So
Yes.
when is that coming up? This
It's gonna be the dates are to be determined soon, and the sales page is being built, so we're really excited about it.
beautiful.
And that's another thing. It's like I gathered the council and I told them this offer is being created as we speak. So I didn't have much information. I just had the big idea,
Yeah.
and those who felt the calling were the council. Like they didn't know much, but they felt it. They felt the frequency of this
Yes.
project, and they know it's a long term. I mean, I don't want to say commitment, but it's a long-term desire to collaborate as a group, uh,
Hmm.
to promote light language. But it's really what we're bringing here is like how we're gonna teach and lead people to encode light into their work. So how do I
Hmm.
bring light into my communication? How do I bring light into my content? How do I bring light into my offers? And when you code all of these with light, you become more visible and magnetic because the light is in this, you know?
Yeah.
So it's
So
really,
exciting.
it's a very spiritual way of working. And even people who are not quote unquote considering themselves spiritual entrepreneurs could benefit from that because it's all about consciousness. You know,
Yeah.
when you pour into the collective consciousness, you necessarily get something back from it. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like universal law, right?
Right.
So it's coming, it's going to be, I believe it's going to be in May 2026 or around
Okay.
that month. So it's to be determined
Okay.
soon. And yes, I'm really, really, really excited about this project. And there's another thing that is alive right now, and it's going to be launched in the Workroom in December
Okay.
with our dear friend and collaborator, Maria, the
Maria.
leader.
Yes. Yes.
It was a mystery offer, but like things are being revealed, and it's actually going to become the calibration station.
Ooh.
And yes, and this is gonna be once again a group offer live, happening live. But the calibration station is something that came to me in the Akashic records a while ago, and it's like a secret place in another dimension where light leaders and all people having big mission basically come there to be able to be spoiled and recharge before their next big move. So
Mm.
it's the place where they recalibrate. So the space where we would tend to either pretend nothing ever happened and just burn everything out, or like the moment where we know we need to continue moving forward, but we are encountering some obstacles and it becomes
Mm.
harder. You know, it's
Yeah.
not the beginner's luck anymore. Like you are
Hmm.
encountering more
Yeah.
hardship or obstacles or whatever. Like this is a place where you can come and rest and be spoiled energetically. It's all happening energetically. And also clear some things from your field, because once again, I work a lot with the field. So clear the things from your field that no longer belong, so you can move on to your next big step.
I love it. Taking away
Yes,
those obstacles. Okay.
yes. So this we're gonna start in December at the
December.
solstice, and I'm really, really, really excited about this offer too. It's the first
Okay.
time I lead it, so it's exciting.
Exciting. Yeah. All right. So, guys, keep your eyes peeled to all things Audrey Martin, right? Because you said Audrey Martin everywhere. Um, and then, yeah, the Worth Room, which I mean, I just had Marie on a couple of days ago, actually. But yeah, definitely promoting the Worth Room on Telegram.
Right.
Ooh, all right. I'm excited. Okay. So, as we're starting to wrap up, because I think we could talk forever, but I know I think we both have a call at 2 o'clock if we're on that one. Um, so for someone who's listening today who is feeling that tug of something more, right? That remembrance, that little voice that they maybe have kept quiet for so long, but so they haven't yet stepped fully into creating their iconic life. What is one truth that you'd want them to hold on to, or what is one small, maybe a brave step that you would challenge them to take?
Well, the one truth I would encourage everyone to hold on to is hold truth for yourself and stop trying to hold truth for everyone else.
Hmm.
And this is when you're going to have better energy management and energetic capacity. Because sometimes you will see some misalignment because you're a seer, you're someone who perceives things, you're sensitive, you're going to feel things, you're going to see things that are in misalignment, and subconsciously you try to fix them still rather than just being present and keep your own alignment and the whole truth for yourself so that you can keep leading from example and keep that frequency of truth alive for them to calibrate eventually.
Nice.
So that's the one thing lately there's a little difference between, because before I was calling myself, I say I don't coach, I hold truth, which is true. I'm not a coach. I'm a mentor. I hold truth for people so they stay in their
Yeah.
alignment. And they
Yeah.
move, they move fast, they move with velocity because they have this precision in the way they move. But I no longer try to hold truth for them. I just am here holding truth for myself and they can calibrate.
Hmm.
And that makes a big difference.
Yeah, that's powerful for you and for them. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because they're
Okay.
able to hold truth for themselves, like they're in their power, right? So if they
Yeah.
choose another experience, it's because they want to learn something from it. So I'm
Mhm.
there to watch them, and that's how I mentor too. Like I'm gonna watch you, I'm gonna follow you, I'm gonna listen to your own guidance. I'm not trying to impose guidance on you, and
Yes.
it's leader to leader. But like when you come back to me because that experience was difficult, then I'm there to her and support and sort it out with you.
Yeah. No, I love that. I call that I always talk about radical responsibility. That's what I always talk about in when I'm working with women. Like, this is not about me. Um, I don't call myself, I hesitate to call myself a coach as well. A mentor is the word that I prefer and that I use a lot because it's not about me coaching you into something, right? Yeah, it's not. It's like I hold space. That's interesting for myself, but I allow, like I'll talk about, like I feel like I'm a mirror sometimes for people and they get to do their work, right? You take radical responsibility for the work that you need to do and if you want to do it or not. Like,
Right.
right? 'Cause I mean, you can decide to come into a space or a container or a program or whatever. The work is powerful, it is potent, it will change you if you want it to, but it is your radical responsibility to do that for yourself or not. Like, I'm not here to like carry you through to your next level, right? And but it's also very freeing in that for me and for them because right, it is their life, it is that what they are working on creating, and it's for me as a mentor. I don't have to carry a burden of like, oh my gosh, they're not reaching where they need to be or whatever. No, it's not about that. Yeah. All right. So as we're wrapping up here, I've got maybe some fun questions for you. Okay. So what is, I like to ask this of most of my guests here. What's a favorite drink or food that you are enjoying?
Okay, so my go-to drink is coffee. I love coffee, and I
Me
have
too.
to watch myself not to drink too much of it. So I'm
Yeah.
very careful, and I drink very good quality coffee. But that's my first
Okay. I was like,
go-to. Yeah,
very good coffee. That's the key right there. And like,
yes,
I'm very bougie about my coffee, actually.
right. It makes all the difference.
All the
And
difference.
if we're going for alcohol, I'm really old school. Like I love a good Bloody Caesar, well
Um,
seasoned with bourbon, not vodka.
I am a bourbon girl.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
with bourbon, and I like when they have like funky toppings on it, and I really love all the flavors like marinated food, like pickles or olives, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. So it's
Mm-hmm.
it's spices. So like Bloody Caesars, my go-to. It's very old school. It's not something that looks like ooh feminine or sexy or
Yeah.
luxury, but that's what I
No
love.
little
So
umbrella.
exactly. So I go for it. Yeah, and the food I love. Like I have love at first sight for Vietnamese food, like the pho, like those
Ooh.
big soup where you
Mm.
have like the
Yeah.
broth, the bone
The
broth, and the
flavor. Yes.
yes, the
Oh my God.
noodles and the fresh herbs and the
Okay.
meat. Oh yes, 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 yes.
You and
That's
I
my
could go out for dinner.
yes,
You'd be great.
absolutely.
You'd be great. I love that. Yeah. Oh, like a good broth. Like you're right. Pho is like, oh, a good one. It's just makes you just happy down to your bones. Like you just feel it. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Exactly.
I love it. Okay. All right. How about your dream vacation spot or like a bucket list vacation that you have?
Yeah, so I'd like to go back to Ecuador. I went there in 2019, and I know it's a place I'm gonna go back several times. And I'd like to go back in the Andean forest to do my vision quest.
Mm,
Um, so it's not really a vacation, it's more like
yeah.
of a
The
growth,
journey. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
a growth
The
journey,
quest.
but this is really like I feel it now. Like I have the calling and I really want to go back. So I'm starting to look into that, and I feel for me that would be a clearing vacation. You know, like you go there, you clear everything,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like a beautiful reset. You know,
Yeah. There's a tree down there in Ecuador. I'm trying to think. Is it Copaiba, I think? Actually, like
Copaiba. Uh-huh.
I believe that the tree is down in Ecuador. And I would like to be able to walk in a forest. You spoke about being in a forest and like forest bathing and like to be in a forest of, well, Copaiba trees or Hinoki, that's I think in Japan. I was like, oh my goodness, I would love to do that because there is something very sacred about being in nature and these beautiful, magnificent trees. And like, oh my goodness. Like I am all into essential oils. So like I'm all about that. So like I have these oils, right? But like the like to be in a forest of that is like it's on my bucket list is to go and like embrace some of these forests. Oh my goodness. Gives me chills. Um okay, one last question. What is a favorite book that you're reading currently or maybe just finished? Or maybe a podcast that you're really enjoying that you would recommend?
Okay, I really love this year. I really love The Gap and the Gain from Dan Sullivan and Benjamin
Yes.
Hardy. Because I work with energetic, but I also love structure. And that's why I
Mhm.
talk a lot about geometry. So, what type of geometry can hold us and our energetic capacity? And in this book, they bring a lot of concrete strategies to hold geometry. So, like, just for instance, like, how do you prioritize? and it's easy to lose focus as an entrepreneur because we have so many things going on. It's really
Hmm.
easy to lose focus, but like, what is the next move that can make a difference and move move the needle? I was going to say move the noodle. So funny,
We're
but
talking about pho, right?
but move the needle. And honestly, like the strategies, I mean, like they are really, really concrete, applicable, implementable, like they're actionable, and they're
Hmm.
easy to understand. It's not like
Yeah.
some jargon or like something unattainable. It's something very clear. And the way,
Yeah.
like I listened to the audiobook and the way the chapters are separated, I don't know, like you can feel the structure through all the book.
Hmm.
And it helped me a lot actually as an entrepreneur because I don't have much time to work on my business right now. So
Yes.
like after I serve my clients, after I work, after I spend time with my kids and put them to bed, like what time do I have left? So I have to
Mhm.
be very precise in the way I move, and this is also what I teach to my client. So so this book for me is like a baseline, basically.
I love it. Yeah, I just did that book with a couple of my older children actually. We went through that book together and it earlier this year and we still it's interesting. My son just brought it up the other day, some of the things from it and how he still like applies this stuff to his life. And yeah, it's so powerful. It's yeah, I love it. It's a great book. So good choice there. Oh, all right. Well, Audrey, this has been a really beautiful conversation. I've enjoyed this deeply with you, and I'm so grateful that you came on and shared your iconic life, even though you didn't think there was one. But my girl, my goodness, you are doing amazing things. So let me shine that light and hold that mirror up for you because you are doing beautiful things and creating a truly iconic life. So again, everybody. Thank you so much. Oh, before I shut us out, actually, Audrey, I know you said audreymartin .com, but is there um, any other space where you want people to come meet you or how can they best get a hold of you?
Yes, so Instagram is the place where I do business. So you
Okay,
can come to me at Audrey_Martin. And in my bio, you will find links to my Substack community. So for people who want more depth and want to read some articles, you can go find me on Substack as well.
perfect. Okay. Glad I didn't forget that because I want people to connect with you. And we'll put those things as well in the show notes for today, or the episode. So you guys can also find it on there. But anyway, again, thank you all for joining us today at the Iconic Life podcast. If today's conversation with Audrey and I, if it stirred something in you, please share this episode, share with your friends, leave us a review. Love that. And then come connect with us online. Find us online, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, we're out there. And remember, your iconic life is not built in the someday, it is chosen today and every day. So until next time, keep living boldly, joyfully, and iconically. Thank you guys for being here.